Just a little bit of a quick peek behind the curtain as to what happened earlier, because we spent the morning just planning out a beautiful 90-minute show that was going to count us down to the start of free agency. But then at 2:49 Eastern, our very own Adrian Wojnarowski reported that Kevin Durant wanted out of Brooklyn. And so we came on TV a full hour earlier, and this was our reaction. We had a beautiful show laid out for you that was supposed to come on in about an hour. And then the NBA happened because Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets.
This is Kevin freaking Durant.
There was a sense of inevitability that this day was coming.
Woj has reported Phoenix is a possible place.
Bridges, possibly DeAndre Ayton in a sign and trade.
But I have to tell you, my phone has been exploding.
More than half the league has already called Brooklyn.
This trade is going to be so massive. Talent and picks and swaps.
Everyone on their roster is going to be available.
This has to go down as one of the most epic failures in the history of this league, does it not?
I had to ask the question.
And they're not in Tate and Kyrie and Bron in LA. I'll retire.
So, I mean, my mic wasn't even on. Zach didn't get his makeup done, which always just upsets him. There was a lot that was going. Richard was late.
Why is she calling you?
Perk was late. Zach was the only one that was here.
I was ironing a shirt, I think, at the time.
I think
But
Tim
I was the only person live tweeting throughout it all.
Thank goodness for
you
that.
live tweeted through the entire show.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, we're going to get to those tweets. We'll get to them. I promise. Unfortunately, we're going to get to those tweets in just a little bit. But this is where I want to start. Kevin Durant, as our Adrian Wojnarowski reported, has requested a trade out of Brooklyn. This is seismic. I cannot overstate how important this is. We've been doing a lot of television today. My brain is. So this is where I want to start here. Kendrick Perkins. What does this
God, all
mean?
this panel, you start with this guy.
He's my favorite, so of course I'm going to start with him. What does this mean to the league when we take that macro view?
Well, we thought that it was going to pause a lot of things, right? But it's been a lot of action still. But, I mean, when you think about Kevin Durant, we think about arguably the best player in basketball. You know, you could debate that, I mean, you know, he's just a special talent. But when I think of it as KD controlling his own destiny. And then I think of it going a step further, that this is a players' league. And then I also think of when the CBA comes about, that the owners are going to be waiting at the front door. So for the first time ever on NBA Today, I'm actually thinking. For the first time ever.
And you lying, apparently. You know that's not true.
How does it feel?
It feels good.
Oh, welcome. Welcome to this side of the party.
Is that why you're sweating?
I'm not sweating.
He's not sweating. You're sweatier than he is. All right, Mr. Sweaty. Rich, your reaction from a league perspective as we look at this, because, again, we haven't seen a player of his caliber with this much time left on his deal look to be traded like this.
And why are you watching Martin?
I'm not watching Martin. It was on Twitter. I'm sorry. It was just on my feed. No, so this is what I'm going to think. I'm going to be that guy, right? I'm going to be that guy.
Oh, man.
No, I'm going to be that guy because there's a bit of a ho-hum to it. There's a ho-hum to it, and let me explain why.
Okay.
Because the Brooklyn Nets are going to go from a contender. Kevin Durant's going to leave. They are no longer contenders. And then another team he's going to go to another team, and then they're going to be considered a contender. So that's really the only shift that's really going on right now.
Just like a huge shift that's going on right now.
Yeah, and we thought it was a huge shift in Brooklyn, and look at all that, how that worked out. There was no question of talent. There was no question of ability. It was like, can these guys come together and build a chemistry? And you had two very close friends that came together. It didn't work out. So now we're going to go to another place, an extremely talented individual.
Sure.
Going to show up in the franchise. The expectations are going to go through the roof, and we're all going to sit back and wait to see if they deliver. So that's what I'm looking forward to see if wherever he goes next, if they're going to be able to deliver, because we can start counting down other players of his caliber when they showed up, the expectations, and some of them delivered.
I think for me, let's start with what's ending. And what's ending is one of the biggest underachievements in the history of this league. And there's no other way to put it. And a team that I probably was more sick of talking about over the last 2 years.
Not more than us.
Than any other team. And so that's over with. Now, the other fascinating component is we're talking about he's putting together a short list, it sounds like.
Yep.
And the teams he's talking about
Checking it twice.
are on the precipice of winning a championship. He started talking about Phoenix, talking about Miami, both very close in that contender category. He immediately creates a seismic shift wherever he ends up. If it's one of those two franchises in particular, a lot of people right off the bat, day one, are going to make that team the favorite to win it all because they're getting a guy that still is arguably the best player in the NBA. This is really uncharted territory here, Zach.
You said seismic, and I agree. It's not ho-hum, RJ. Okay, don't ho-hum this. It is the decimation of what becomes the greatest what-if team in the history of the NBA, if not the history of sports. The decimation of one title contender. And because Kevin Durant, one of the 15 greatest players of all time, will be traded, it will be the creation of another title contender somewhere. And to whatever degree you care, it is an opportunity for Kevin Durant to sort of reclaim the story of his career. So he leaves Oklahoma City to go to Golden State, wins 2 titles, is finals MVP twice. People are still arguing over whether he should get credit, whether he drives some sort of bus or whatever vehicle you want to compare an NBA team to. Then he goes to Brooklyn in an effort to say, okay, I'm going to build something on my own. It blows up. And as Perk said earlier today, he is extricating himself out of that preemptively and saying, I am going to try at age 34, the last big move of my career, the last chance to redefine, to the degree anyone he even cares, what he is in sort of historic terms. And I'm going to pick a place to go and I'm going to make it work.
Stop.
Freeze.
Can I say something real quick? Where my camera at? Hey, look, let me clear the air, okay? Listen, we got to stop with the lies. Kevin Durant Steve Nash was not Kevin Durant hire, okay? It was Sean Marks hire. Kevin Durant just okayed it, okay?
What's the difference?
What? Where? I'm sorry.
It wasn't he just supported him in the hire. It was
turn.
Sean Marks' idea, and Kevin Durant just said, hey, rolling with you.
Let me be clear. Kevin Durant's place in history as an all-time great player is cemented.
Absolutely.
He doesn't need to do anything. But for people who observe the sort of trajectory of these players, his career arc is a little messier than it is someone like Steph, who just won that title being on the same team. He doesn't have to do anything, but he gets a chance to make a final stage that feels cleaner, better, whatever, if you care about that sort of thing.
I understand that. We keep saying this a minute. We know this. It's about how much do you want to climb up in the rankings now? What more do you want to add to it? LeBron James' legacy been cemented way long time ago. But what he do? He keep adding on to it. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. But much like Steph Curry got an opportunity this year to have the crown jewel of his career, and I really believe that's what that was. Kevin Durant now has an opportunity to go get the crown jewel of his career if he's able to do this somewhere else.
But the question is where? And some great philosopher, I think, was asking that profound question earlier.
Yeah, look, at this point in time, roll the tweets. Because I was like, look, Giannis, are you available? At Bucks, no. I'm asking for a friend.
Did they get back to you?
No, they didn't get back to me. At Dallas, is Luka available? No, I was asking for a friend. I didn't say asking for a friend when I said Lakers and King James. I didn't say asking for a friend, but just look, there's just so many of these guys. This is who Kevin Durant is. He is that guy that you're looking around and look, none of these teams have gotten back to me, although I'm still waiting to hear from the Boston Celtics on some other things that we have working. And then the Trailblazers, hey, look, everything should be on the table when you're looking for Kevin Durant. Am I making this up? No.
Well, what did you say earlier? The Celtics have done it. The Nets have built enough for the Celtics. We don't need to do more of that. I think that's fair.
True.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think we should probably, sorry, Perk, but just set this aside.
Oh yeah, because they expect to win now for the first time since 2008.
Y'all keep saying sorry. What? Look,
bro, because we listened to you for a month and a half.
So what? They were the best basketball team for a month and a half. So what?
Those are Richard's tweets. I would like to bring a little bit of sanity back to this discussion because, Zach, we were discussing earlier, if you are in a front office and you are picking up the phone, who are the first calls that you are making to inquire about if you can make a trade if you were in the Nets front office?
So if I'm Sean Marks, first I put down my 5th drink of the day and I start making start making some dangerous phone calls because I'm in a bad
5 drinks in, that might not be a great idea.
Phone calls. That's how they used to make trades back in the ABA, like the 70s. Let's get together. Look, I'm going through the list of KD can give me his list. That's great. We'll work off that too. I got my own list. the best 23 and under players in the league, guys that would normally not be touchable, guess what? When you're trading Kevin Durant, those guys become touchable. And the key is find a player like that on a team who can make a trade with me, Brooklyn, get Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant walks in the door and said, okay, there's still enough here that I can win. So call number one, I'm calling the Raptors and saying, build me something around Scotty Barnes. I'm calling the Cavs, build me something around Evan Mobley. I'm calling the Pelicans if Zion doesn't sign an extension tonight, say, build me something around Zion. And you may laugh, those teams may say no, but that's absolutely where they should start, because in all of those cases, or at least New Orleans and Toronto, Kevin can come to those teams and say, I've got enough around me to win, which, by the way, is the entire point of the enterprise, is to get the ring.
Yeah, and to your point, it reminds me of when Kobe Bryant asked for a trade. Remember when the Lakers
on the radio?
Yeah, well, he was talking about, he wanted to get traded, and then there was a lot of conversation about Chicago. And then they were like, well, this is our asking price for Kobe Bryant in his prime, and Chicago, they were going to, take everything that they can, and Kobe was like, nah, I'm good, because if I go there, there's not going to be anything to play with. So it is a lot trickier. Kevin Durant, might be better off, I'm just saying, he'd be better off staying in Brooklyn if he's going to go to a team with no other superstar, no potential all-star, no other talent. It's not, so I think it's a lot more complicated than I think people understand, because Kevin Durant's not just leaving Brooklyn for a change of scenery. He's leaving Brooklyn because he wants to go compete for a championship. So you can't take all the pieces, add Kevin Durant, and be like, here you go. So it's going to get complicated.
Well, our front office insider, Bobby Marks, is going to break all of that down for us in just a little bit on what's realistic. We have, hold on to your butts, guys, 2 hours of breaking this down. So I'm going to put a pin in Kevin Durant for just a second, because these were some of the other happenings around the association in the last couple of minutes that has made me go, oh, all right, Bradley Beal, 5-year deal to return to the Wizards. Jalen Brunson, as our Tim McMahon reported, on the way to the Knicks. Hey, Anthony Simons, he got his bag. And Lou Dort, $87.5 million deal, Zach, with Oklahoma City.
That's the one we want to talk about? That's a big one. That's a big number for Lou Dort. Didn't expect 87.5 for Lou Dort now in their defense. He's an elite defender.
Get to that floor.
Improving as an offensive player, and they got to get to the salary floor.
Got to get to the
Pretty
floor.
much every year. Contrast him with Jayshawn Tate in Houston, who's on a similar structured contract. Really good young player. 3 years, $22 million for Jayshawn Tate. 87.5. Lou Dort, take it to the bank, man. That's awesome. What a great story.
Not to mention Nikola Jokic signing the richest deal in NBA history. Devin Booker getting his extension. What am I missing? What stood out to you here, Tim?
Well, I just want to talk a little bit about that 250 that Bradley Beal got. I mean, I just think it's interesting. You're talking about a guy that every single year his name comes up about every trade because he's that coveted, because he's that talented. He's a wing that can go get his own, that can get you 25 against any defender, and yet now he basically is just committed to spending 15 years of his career in Washington, has not been on a playoff winning series since 2017. And I'm not blaming him for taking the money. I'm not blaming the Wizards for giving it to him, because, look, even the bad teams have to have guys that are entertaining that you want to come watch. But man, I feel like this is the most talked about talent over the last several years about what could he do by adding to one other star player and potentially becoming a championship contending player. Instead, very good chance he's going to be irrelevant for the next 5 years.
Well, again, go ahead.
You know why? Because, we all get caught up in championships, and rightfully so.
That's why we play this, bro.
No, but listen, can I finish?
Start off with something
The
simple.
outside world, and some of us get caught up in championships. To others, it may not be about championships. We do have to remember that the NBA is a what? Is a job. And I always encourage players, even when they was coming up under me as rookies, get your money. Get the most money that you possibly can. And some people don't live by, let me go on championships. Some people want to get paid and go out there and play great basketball and let the chips fall where they may. Bradley Beal just might be one of those people.
And I 100% stand by Perk. Take the $250 million. Take all the money in the world. But at the end of the day, we talk about competing.
Yeah.
We talk about trying to win. And Bradley Beal has a unique opportunity where he can stay with a franchise his entire career. He wants to see him through it. But it's like, this is a team that, in my opinion, has never even been close to a contender. Never. Even when John Wall and Bradley Beal in their prime, like they could maybe get to the second round, but never really an actual contender where we were talking about it. And so I'm not questioning him as a person. I just look at it as like, man, if I played the game of basketball, even my job, and he's made close to 400 and something million, and at no point in time, right, staying with one franchise is more important than like winning, right? That to me is just like, I feel for the dude. If you're with a franchise for 15 years and you never were considered a champion,